Hey, this is Ben Morse. Welcome to Rock Theory. So, a couple days ago, we saw Fontaines D.C. in Brooklyn. After surviving the mosh pit, I was very elated, and now their songs are all like engraved right on my brain. So, I love the band because of the sound of the band, the soundscapes they create, the compelling dark sounds, but also mostly honestly Grian Chatton's constantly compelling vocals, the way he blats out and holds these low notes, ba da da da, the thing where he chants lyrics like in a stream of monotonic one note, eighth notes like da 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 da. He's an amazing performer. So I was surprised when I was lying in bed a couple nights ago, mostly asleep, and because this is my brain, I began thinking about the A sharps in his song, in their song Big Shot, and why there were A sharps in a song in E major. I began thinking about, well, what that would mean and the use of modes in pop music. People are discussing modes a lot in pop music these days. People have realized that pop songs don't always use major or minor modes. They can use other modes. There's like Dorian, there's mixed Lydian, things that are more closely associated with blues scale, for example. Lydian, you don't hear that often, but Lydian would be, for example, if you were in the key of C, if you had, instead of your typical major C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, there was an F sharp instead. C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C. It's that sharp fourth that really makes the mode sound like it sounds. It's very recognizable. It wasn't used that much by the old Renaissance church musicians, but it's used sometimes in modern music for a certain kind of effect. It's very distinctive. For example, the Simpsons theme song, which goes kind of like this, and it goes, it's C, E, F sharp, A, G. It sounds kind of modern as opposed to like C, E, F, A, G, which is kind of pastoral. It sounds angular and modern in that way. This is a common trick that the composer used. I think it's also inspired by the Flintstones. Flintstones? The Jetsons theme song, which was like, meet George Jetson, C, E, F sharp, G. So it's used also in pop music. But my question is it being used in the song, or is the A sharp telling us something else? Let's look at the song and find out. So the intro of the song is just a guitar playing an E and G sharp super, super low. It's like an E chord, but it's just two notes. There's no B in it, and it's very low and muddy, kind of like it is on this keyboard, but with some distortion. It's really striking because it's so low and it's muddy. It doesn't really sound great, honestly. It doesn't sound hi-fi. It sounds kind of dirty. It must have required tuning down the A string in the guitar to at least a G sharp or something else. So one question we have here, as often we have, is what key is the song in? Is it giving us the key of the song as E because it's an E chord? So it's a very ambiguous way of doing it, which is fine because the song is not like ambiguous really in terms of the chords. It only has two chords. There's an E and G sharp minor, which repeat again and again throughout the song. So there's no mystery about the chords in the song. There's no need to establish E strongly. And often pop songs don't want to establish key strongly anyway. It sounds too classical. So is the song saying, oh, we're in E? Or just introducing these two pitches, E and G sharp, which are important in the song. And maybe these two pitches will vie for supremacy as the song's actual key center. Interesting. Okay, so anyway, going on over here, eventually this big monster guitar riff comes in, which sounds like this. Only played, of course, on guitar with cool effects. So it goes G sharp, D sharp, E, G sharp, D sharp, E, D sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, A sharp, B. There's that A sharp. And that's striking because we're in E major, we think, because it's the first chord of the song, right? So we should have a scale that goes E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. But this riff is used so far, let's see, G sharp, D sharp, E, B, C sharp, A sharp, B. It's used E, G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, and E. It's that George Jetson's Simpsons, Lydian sounding kind of thing. Maybe. Let's keep on going over here. Although I will note that this A sharp when it comes in is kind of crunchy. It's kind of catchy. But let's keep on going. Let's hear some vocals. There's only a few vocal things in the song, which makes it easy to analyze. And the verse, Grian starts singing right away, and he goes, "You've been through the war, but you've nothing to show." There's our A sharp again. And we have so far these notes, E, G sharp, A sharp, B, and D sharp. Some of the notes that the guitar riff also used, minus the C sharp. And then when the chorus comes in, you hear the first part of the guitar riff. And then he sings what I was thinking about the other night. Everybody gets a big shot, baby. It's G sharp, A sharp, B, A sharp, A sharp again. And that's what I was thinking about. Is that kind of Lydian? Why is there an A sharp here? What if it was an A natural instead? Everybody gets a big shot, baby. Before I go on, I want to note that the song so far has used the pitches E, G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, and D sharp. What is missing from our scale here is the second scale degree, F sharp. And you may, if you see my blog post before, realize that some songs will skip a scale degree, especially the second scale degree, creating an expectation that it will be used later on. So you hear it always being skipped or jumped over, and eventually you go, I want to hear the F sharp, I wouldn't miss that note in there, and then suddenly they go F sharp, and it's a big moment in the song. Not all songs do that. It's often associated with a 5 chord. It's that strong second scale degree over a 5 chord thing, which classically would be used to return then to a first scale degree over a 1 chord. So not all songs do that because a lot of songs don't want to go anywhere near 5. It just sounds too classical. Pop songs often want to avoid these things. Not always. We'll see how this song goes. So my question was, why is it an A sharp? If we kind of play this and think about this a little bit, it feels to me very stable over the G sharp minor chord. If we played an A natural instead from the key of E, I feel like it would kind of be waiting to go back to E major. Do you feel that? I'll play it a little bit higher. It feels kind of gentler, softer. It kind of reminds me more of a major chord, even though we're playing it over a minor chord. And if you're doing this with the A sharp, I feel like it feels like it belongs in G sharp minor. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? Notice also that the A sharp never occurs over the E major chord. That would sound very Lydian if we had E major chord then. Everybody gets a big shot, baby. It'd be a stable A sharp. But the vocal melody only uses A sharp over the G sharp chords. So it uses it in the verse, G sharp minor, A sharp. Then the chorus, we have the guitar riff is the same. It goes, and then over G sharp minor we have the A sharp. So that's interesting, isn't it? It seems to belong over G sharp, not over the E. So what I began to realize actually is the A sharp actually kind of makes the song resolve from E major to G sharp minor. It makes the song pull towards the G sharp minor chord. We're going to hear, we're at home here in G sharp minor. So I think actually really what's going on here is that the song is trying to establish that it's not really in E major, it really is in G sharp minor. And it could be in either key. Nothing else really establishes a key. There's no 5-1 cadence, for example, in G sharp minor. The song only has 2 chords in it, but it feels G sharp minor to me, and that's why it does. So actually, this would mean, if this was the case, if it was in G sharp minor, the song wouldn't be in Lydian after all. It would just be a simple minor scale in G sharp minor. G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, G sharp, E. The song has no F sharp in it, but that's not a big deal. It's not really even a 2, which also explains why there's not really a need to actually fill in that 2, because it's actually a 7th, not a 2nd, in this interpretation. Not that the song isn't also kind of Lydian E, but I think it's actually, get it, Lydian E, it's actually really more about G sharp minor and with G sharp minor scale. And, the A sharp is catchy anyway, because it feels surprising because it's a little bit Lydian-like, but it's not actually really, I think, truly at a Lydian scale. I thought about this some more, and I thought, how would it sound actually if you had the A natural or A sharp over an E major chord instead? So I took the same chords, I thought of a kind of similar melody instead of, I thought I'd go G sharp, A, G sharp, like this. This melody is just the notes G sharp, A, and G sharp and E over an E major chord. Let's play that over E major and G sharp minor chords. Kind of catchy. It's kind of catchy. It feels like to me it's at home in E, but in G sharp, it sounds a little bit catchy in both cases because it's a little surprising. You kind of expect to hear, but it's catchier to stay with the A. If you contrast, you actually use instead an A sharp in this melody instead. Same melody. I feel like it's wanting to go somewhere. It's kind of pulling towards G sharp minor. Now we're home. So really the A sharp or A natural establishes a key. I realized that my idea that the A sharp is there to establish the key of G sharp minor and weaken E major isn't totally crazy. I remember that the great theorist David Lewin would tell me if I wanted to modulate from G to D in a sonata, because I began in G and sonatas classically would go to the 5-quarter D, for example, in the second theme. You want to get to D, start throwing in some more sharps. Throw in more sharps, it'll feel more like you're going towards D. It'll weaken G and strengthen the area of D, which also means strengthening the area above D on the scale, on the circle of fifths. Like if you have a strong A or E major, it's easier to fall back down to D. So throwing in, if you're in the key of G, some notes, not just from the G major scale, but also some G sharps, some C sharps, even E sharps, all those things will help you establish that you're not really in G, but you're in D. And I was looking for an example. I found one over here. This is a Mozart piano sonata. So even as far back as like Bach, Mozart, these classical composers would put in notes that weren't from the scale at all in order to go somewhere else. This is the 7th piano sonata in C major. It begins with very, very standard C major stuff. He's gone C, E, G, C, G, E, and then some other notes very fast, then C. Of course, the pitches in C major are C, E, and G. So there you go. And then it keeps on going very, very C major-y for a little while. So we're in C major. But now he has a mission. He must leave C major and get to G. How does he do this? A few seconds later, he's cruising along in C and plays a scale over the CE thing, the same dyad actually that we heard in the song Big Shot, but in the key of C, C and E instead of E and G sharp. He starts playing a scale that isn't C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. He starts playing that. That's nuts. He's playing C, D sharp, E, F sharp, G, B, C, D sharp again. So when you hear that scale, you know you're going somewhere. If you hear a C major scale, you're going nowhere. Honestly, it's kind of dull. If you hear this, you're like, G sharp, we're going somewhere, aren't we? That's not going to be C for long. And indeed, he does go from there down to G. There's another strange scale with A sharps in it. I'm going to scroll down here. And then he gets to a big a 5 of 7 chord, and he messes around for a minute over there, and then he's suddenly going to be in G. Check it out if you want to. This is Mozart's Piano Sonata number 7 in C major. So anyway, my conclusion is if someone says, hey, the first chord of the song is an E, the song must be an E, that's not always true. It's sometimes true. The song could be in a different key. It could be really in a mix of keys or no key after all. But you can't assume also that saying that this is the key, these are the notes, this is the mode is the whole story. It's part of the story. It isn't the whole story. Listen to the song. Listen to that sharp 4, whatever notes are. What is the song trying to tell you? It could be interesting. For homework, listen to the song Dreams by Fleetwood Mac. People are saying online that Dreams is in Lydian, but is that the whole story? You tell me. This has been Ben for Rock Theory. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, you should really subscribe because, subscribing is good.